I frequently hear a couple different reasons why people do not believe in miracles. Some say that miracles are violations of the laws of nature. Therefore, even if God exists, he would not violate those laws. Others point out that miracles are not scientifically repeatable and testable. Therefore, belief in them is contradicted by science. What would you say to this? Several years ago, I gave some lectures at the University of Edinburgh on topics pertaining to God, philosophy, and science. Well, there I was reminded of the fact that Edinburgh was the home of the famous Scottish Enlightenment philosopher David Hume in the 1700s. You might be surprised to know that his objections to miracles are still frequently raised today, even though they're around 250 years old. So even if you've never heard of Hume, chances are you've heard of his objections to miracles. First, Hume argued that a miracle would be a violation of the laws of nature. Second, he argued that we have no justification for believing a miracle has occurred. Let's take a dive into these two problems. I suppose if we define the laws of nature in the same way that we think of laws passed by our government, then perhaps we might grant that the government cannot violate their own laws. At least we don't think it's right if they do. So, if violating a law is an immoral thing, and God would do nothing immoral, then maybe Hume has a point there. But I wonder if you squirmed a bit when Hume used the word violation, as if it would be morally wrong for God to intervene in the natural world. If you experienced a red flag over the word violation, then I think you may have intuitively picked up on a problem with Hume's objection. What if the laws of nature, as we like to call them, are more like a smartphone operating system that governs the processes going on inside your phone? Your phone doesn't have a mind of its own when it's doing something. Everything it does is controlled by the programming in its operating system and in the apps you download. But it's also pretty obvious that the apps on your phone and even the main operating system on your phone are designed to receive external user input. You're not violating the laws of physics and the deterministic software running on your phone. It has been designed for external input by the user if necessary. I suppose you can see where I'm going with this. Why can't God design the natural world and the laws of physics that govern it in such a way that there can be user input, shall we say? Indeed, does it not seem a little absurd for God to design and bring the universe into existence but not be able to interact with it? So next time you hear this objection to miracles, just pull out your smartphone here and take a look at it. Now let's think about Hume's other objection to miracles, that we have no justification for believing in them. Do you actually think there is no justification for believing in miracles? In my last video, I discussed a recent peer-reviewed science paper that documented the instantaneous healing of a blind woman during a prayer by her husband. We're not talking about some raving TV evangelist here. This was a detailed, highly technical scientific investigation into something that was biologically impossible. Does not a first-hand scientific investigation and documentation of a miracle provide justification for the conclusion that miracles actually do happen sometimes? In my previous video, we saw how cold, hard logic dictates that the origin and foundation of nature must be supernatural. If the foundation of the natural world is supernatural, then we actually have some pretty impressive justification for believing that miracles are possible. Another reason I've often heard to not believe miracles occur is that they're not scientifically repeatable and testable. I have a question for you. How does it logically follow that because you cannot go into a lab and make a miracle happen, that therefore miracles are impossible? A miracle, by definition, is an event that could not have been produced by the laws of physics. Therefore, science is totally the wrong tool to use if you want to repeat a miracle. It's like trying to measure the beauty of a piece of music by using a baseball bat as your method. It's just totally the wrong tool. It is the regular, consistent laws of nature that allow us to know that we're observing a miracle when we see one. The role of science is not to reproduce miracles, but to investigate and document miracles when they occur. And an example is the peer-reviewed investigation I mentioned earlier. Maybe the most powerful recent challenge to believing in miracles is the question I've seen online that asks why God doesn't heal amputees. If God exists and can perform miracles in this world, why can't we just ask him to give an amputee's legs back to him instantly? If miracles happened all the time in the Bible, why can't amputees get healed all the time today? This challenge is especially powerful because of its emotional impact. It's like, yeah, you say God can do miracles, then let's see him heal that amputee right over there. Oh, look, it's not happening. You might be surprised to learn that regular public occurrence of miracles only happened 3 times over the roughly 4,000 years of human history covered in the Bible. There were other occasional miracles here and there, but I'm talking about periods of regular public miracles. As you can see in this little graphic, no regular miracles are mentioned between the time of Adam and the exodus of the Hebrews from Egypt around 1400 BC. During the Exodus, there is a brief flurry of very blatant and obvious miracles for about 40 years. Then there is another 500-year gap with little mention of any miracles until the time of the 2 prophets, Elijah and Elisha, where miracles occurred for a few decades. Then there's another 700-year gap until the birth and ministry of Jesus Christ in the 1st century AD, when regular public miracles occur for several decades by Christ and the apostles leading up to the end of the New Testament accounts. On the other hand, I have personally witnessed several bald-faced, blatant miracles over the course of my life. Most of them in emergency situations where all I had time for was to yell, "God help me!" And one time I didn't even have time for that. In each of those times, I saw the laws of physics momentarily suspended, and things happened over a matter of seconds that are simply not possible according to the laws of nature. But the interesting thing is that they were private, not public miracles. It is surprising how many followers of Christ I know have their own miraculous experiences, but they are seldom in the public arena. Rather, they occur in the privacy of Christian gatherings. Over the years, I've come to suspect that there is an enormous number of genuine miracles occurring all over the world, especially in developing countries, but they are not meant for public display. So what is the takeaway? It seems that God does not produce miracles on demand, even though there is a surprising number of Christians who can recount personal experiences of miracles that occurred outside of the public eye. Secondly, it seems that there are certain brief periods of human history where public, regular miracles occur, which raises the question, when is the next time? Perhaps you will still be alive when miracles next occur in a very public way. According to the Bible, the most massive public display of the supernatural intervention of God in history will occur in the final decade of human civilization, leading up to and including Armageddon and the entry of God himself into this world. This time, not as a baby in a Bethlehem manger, but as God in unshielded glory that is so overwhelming, it is prophesied in the Bible that humanity will flee into caves and holes in the ground and beg the mountains to fall on them to shield them from the glory of God. From that time on, there will never again be any discussion of whether miracles can occur or not.